as a roar. He does see through it roar. Here comes the avalanche. Here the avalanche again, my friend.
Welcome to Revolutionary Thinking with me, your host, Ariel the Avalanche. This is where we get your stereotypes, put them on the examination table, get out a sledgehammer, and smash them into smithereens, and throw those smithereens into the incinerator. Last time we came down on children being treated as property, and this time, according to the poll that I just had, you guys want to come down on filthy rich people with fragile egos. What would you do if you never had to worry about money for your entire life? Would you quit going to work? Would you quit going to school? Would you move to another place? Or would you cut off a relationship that you really didn't enjoy having? I think the most important thing that money gives a person, other than status and fame, is options. And I think options is what lets a person be free. When I was young, options were a thing that I really craved because I did not enjoy the school that I was going to, and I did not enjoy the house I lived in, even though it was expensive. It was up in the middle of nowhere, and I would have rather had a penthouse and went to a school with better teachers. So I just said if I was over 18 and I had enough money, those things would really change. Now, what I find so disappointing about filthy rich people with fragile egos is that the money allows them tons and tons of options, yet they choose to just use that money to further the way that their image is and the way that they feel instead of just look at the options. A lot of this also has to do with our culture of celebrity worship and tabloids and all this other stuff that I think is nonsense, that somehow in this country we have an obsession of wanting to know the business of people who are filthy rich, and that in turn creates this ugly feedback loop where they have to go on interviews, talk about their lives, what's going on, and what they're doing, when in reality, what good does it do when we butt into the lives of the filthy rich just so they can pontificate about how amazing they are or what kind of problems that they have? I especially think it's ridiculous when the media goes after the problems of filthy rich people. People who don't have to worry about things like food and shelter. And even instead, why not go after new people? People who are authentically struggling, or even middle class people who may not be struggling, but they have a dream that they really want the world to hear about it. And I know that there are tons of those people out there, and that's a fair point. But the thing is, let's not give all the oxygen in the room to people who have already made it. Because seriously, I don't want to hear about some of their problems or advice or people not understanding how great they are. Try to give the microphone to someone else who may have an original idea, who may have a dream, or is suffering greatly and needs to be signal boosted for people to help them out. That's way better than just going after some filthy rich people with fragile ego problems or who just want to pontificate, in my book. Let me also say that not everybody who's filthy rich has a fragile ego. I'm just concentrating on a particular subset of filthy rich people. I salute all of the wealthy people who use their money for good things, or they work behind the scenes to create something better in the world. And yes, those people do deserve a modest amount of credit for that. And I don't mind if they take credit for it. More power to them. But for the filthy rich people who just create drama and insanity and do crazy things in the world and go on TV to defend their fragile egos, this is who I'm directing this critique at. For those filthy rich people that waste all their time and money defending their fragile egos with things like publicists, TV interviews, and media blitzes, don't you think all of that money, time, and resources could better be put to use into creating a post-scarcity world, and we can eliminate unneeded, unnecessary suffering? Why should the world be the playground of filthy rich people with fragile egos who want to use their popularity and influence to get other people and make them into their ego extension zombies? That's the thing that I can't stand. If there's one thing that bothers me more than filthy rich people with fragile egos, it's their zombie personality extensions and ego extensions that only lurk the world to defend that because it's like they don't have a sense of meaning themselves. Also, the one thing that these filthy rich people with fragile egos has that people on the street really don't have is freedom of reach. And remember that freedom of speech isn't freedom of reach. When they have a problem or something that's bothering them, they have access to their audience and the media and the television cameras and everything like that. Whereas people who are going through existential dread and a lot of scarcity, they don't have this kind of freedom of reach where they can reach a lot of people and talk to them about what's going on and what's bothering them and how they can be helped. Some people never even get to hear their voice. And I just find that so gross that the people who are suffering through existential dread and they're in the real dire straits are having the oxygen in the room taken away from them from the same exact people who should be the ones helping them. It's absolutely positively grotesque. The world shouldn't be a playground anymore with all the cool kids and all the kids who aren't that cool who sit at that other table. We can create a better, more civilized post-scarcity world where everyone can get their physical and physiological needs met, so everyone can have a chance to actually actualize instead of being stuck in scarcity and existential dread. Now, being filthy rich and having a fragile ego is one thing. It's a whole new ballgame when you're filthy rich and you have a fragile ego, when the way you became filthy rich is by grifting from people. I think there's a special place in hell for people like that, for people who grift, become filthy rich that way, and then only interact with the world when it has to do with their ego. Your grift puts some people in situations where they get evicted and they can't even afford food. And then you think your grift is the thing that makes you special and that it was your hard work. You are a sack of crap. That grift was not through your hard work. That grift was just a grift, and you are standing on the burnt out bodies of people who had dreams and aspirations and visions, and your grift destroyed it, and then you call your grift hard work. And then you go and you look for people to stroke your ego and to be your servants and sit at the cool kids table with those burnt out bodies that had dreams and aspirations and ideas. You sick, stupid son of a bitch. A very special breed of people where there's a special place in hell for them. But just for most of the filthy rich people with fragile egos, remember that the villain is always the one who wants to be worshipped, while the hero is the person who's helpful and who's selfless. Especially if you have servants and if you have a team and you have people to talk to and you're not lonely and you are not facing existential dread, no one should care about your damn ego. There's also a special class of politician who I can't stand who are worshipped as celebrities, and it's absolutely positively grotesque. You are there in a public service spot to serve the people, not have people worship you as a celebrity and care about your ego. Politicians who act like celebrities are the worst filthy rich people with fragile egos that exists, and they should all get out of politics immediately. They suck. It's time we stop treating our politicians like celebrities, and it's time that we ask filthy rich people to think about more than their fragile egos. And if we can concentrate half of the energy that we concentrate on creating a post-scarcity world instead of stupid political tribalism, clout culture, and caring about the fragile egos of those with money and fame, we'd be living in a much, much better world. That was me coming down on filthy rich people with fragile egos, and the next thing I'm going to be coming down on is people who say, just get a job. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Avalanche. I will see you on the next episode.